Mayong udto, gikan sa Solar News Channel Manila, ako si Hillary Isaac. Ani ang mga balita alang sa Kabisayan ug Mindanao.
Misaka sa sobra 1,800 ang namatay tungod sa bagyong Yolanda. Gibana-bana ni Presidente Aquino nga sobra 2,000 katawo ang namatay sa bagyong Yolanda inay 10,000. Mitanyag og sobra $300 million ang United Nations agigtabang sa mga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda. Og gisugyot ni Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte nga ibutang ubos sa state of emergency ang Tacloban City nunot sa bagyong Yolanda.
Ana sa sobra 1,800 ang namatay tungod sa bagyong Yolanda. Matod sa National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, misaka sab sa sobra 2,600 ang samtang 84 ang missing. Dunasay 1.4 million families o halos 7 million katawo ang apektado sa bagyo. Nahibalik na ang communication line sa halos tunga sa mga apektadong lugar sa Kabisayan, samtang 30% sa Luzon ug Mindanao. Dugang sa NDRRMC, mikabat sa sobra 760 million pesos ang nangaguba nga infrastructure ug agriculture sector. Matod sa NDRRMC, mikabat sa sobra 34 million pesos na ang kantidad sa relief assistance nga nahatag ngadto sa mga apektado sa bagyo. Gibutyag ni Presidente Aquino nga moabot og 2,000 hangtod sa 2,500 ang namatay tungod sa bagyong Yolanda. Kini sukwahi sa taho sa kagamahanan sa Leyte nga moabot og 10,000 katawo ang namatay tungod sa bagyo. Matod ni Aquino na sobraan ra ang gibana-bana nga ihap tungod sa gihulgway nga emotional drama. Hinuon gibutyag ni Aquino nga musaka pa ang ihap tungod kay nagpadayon ang pagkuha og impormasyon kabahin sa mga epekto sa bagyong Yolanda. Dugang ni Aquino, naglaom ang kagamhanan nga makontak na ang nahabiling 29 kalungsod nga wala pa nilay makuhag impormasyon. Nang hadlok na ang mga tao sa Western Samar tungod kay nagkaanam na og kahurot ang supply sa ilang mga batakang panginahanglan. Sa Catbalogan City, nagpanic buying na mga tao tungod sa nagkagamay na ang supply sa pagkaon ug tubig. Matod sa mga apektadong residente, dungay langay sa paghatod sa mga relief goods ngadto kanila. Taas sab ang linya sa mga taong buot magpagasolina. Kini tungod kay nanirado ang ubang mga gasoline stations sa lugar. Gikan pa sa Tacloban City sa Leyte ang supply sa gasolina sa Western Samar, apan nalangan sab kini tungod kay dunay mga dalan nga wala gihapon na limpyuhan. Nangahurot na sab ang supply sa mga canned goods, noodles ug tubig sa mga drugstores ug convenience outlets. Duna say mga tawo nga nagpundo og pagkaon tungod kay nagkahurot na ang supply sa pagkaon sa lugar. Taas sab ang linya sa mga money remittance center sa mga taong milinya gikan alas 6 sa buntag hangtod sa hapon. Hinuon gipahugtan na ang seguridad pinaagi sa pagdeploy og dugang pulis aron mapabilin ang kahusay sa lugar. Pagkakaron wala say natala nga kagubot sa lugar. Gitaho nga dunay mga miyembro sa New People's Army na nanguha og mga relief goods sa lungsod sa Lawaan sa Eastern Samar. Matod sa mga residente, nagkadaghan ang mga miyembro sa NPA nga manglukab sa mga barangay sa Lawaan. Dugang sa mga residente sa Allen sa Northern Samar, dunay mga truck, mga tulison ug panguhaon ng mga dala nga relief goods. Hinuon sigo ni Social Welfare Department Dinky Soliman, nangayo na sila og tabang gikan sa kasundaluhan aron mamahimong escort sa mga truck na dunay dala na relief goods. Samtang sa habagatang bahin sa Samar Island, lisod gihapon ang pagdala sa mga relief goods, ilabi na sa mga lungsod sa Giwan ug Ernani sa Eastern Samar. Kini tungod kay naguba ang taytayan nga mosampay sa duha ka lungsod nunot sa bagyong Yolanda. Libuan ka mga sundalo ang gipadala karon ngadto sa Tacloban City aron tabangan ang kapulisan nga mabalik ang kahapsay sa lugar. Niadtong miaging adlaw, sobra 8 ka gatos ka mga pulis ang gipadala sa Tacloban. Dunay 43 ka military trucks ug 11 ka military planes nga gigamit alang sa pagdala sa mga relief goods ug paghakot sa mga patayng lawas. Mato di Defense Secretary Voltaire Gazmin, gisiguro na ang clearing operation sa mga dalan aron mapadali ang pagpapadala sa mga relief goods ngadto sa mga hilit nga lugar. Nagpadulong na sa nasod ang mga aircraft carriers gikan sa Estados Unidos ug Britanya aron madali ang pag-apod-apod sa hinabang ngadto sa mga biktima sa Yolanda. Ang USS George Washington uban ang upat pa ka barko sa US Navy ships mibiya gikan sa Hong Kong ug gipaabot nga mudunggo sa nasod karong adlaw. Dunay 5,000 ka tripulante ug kapin sa 80 ka eroplano ang USS George Washington. Mibiya sab gikan sa Singapore ang HMS Daring ug gipaabot nga mudunggo kini sulod ning semanaha. Dala sa HMS Daring ang usa ka military transport aircraft ug ekipo nga mohimog limpyo nga tubig. Gibutyag sab sa Pentagon nga miabot na ang mga US Marines ug nagdalag 107,000 pounds sa relief supplies. Mipadala na ang National Bureau of Investigation ug Forensic Team nga mususi sa mga patay nga lawas nga biktima sa bagyong Yolanda. Gibutyag ni Justice Secretary Laila De Lima nga langkuban sa Disaster Victims Identification Team 15 hangtod sa 20 ka mga forensic pathologists. Gisusi sa team ang himuong operasyon sa Tacloban, lakip ang ekipong kinahanglan. Human sa assessment, kuhaon sa team ang lawas ug personal effects nga importante sa pag-ila sa biktima. Dunasay usa ka team nga nag-standby aron ni deploy karong Biyernes. Mitanyag og sobra $300 million ang United Nations alang sa mga biktima sa bagyong Yolanda. Nalakip ang hinabang sa Typhoon Haiyan Action Plan sa UN. Matod ni UN Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs Valerie Amos, tumong sa 6 ka bulan nga programa nga mapaubsan ang mortality rate sa mga nagrabihan sa bagyo. Tumong sab sa programa ang paghatag og pagtagad sa panginahanglan sa nutrisyon, pagtukod og balay ug paghatag og livelihood assistance ngadto sa mga survivors. Gidayeg sab sa UN ang Pilipinas tungod sa ilang pagdumala sa sitwasyon human miigo ang bagyo.
Have just launched an action plan focusing on the areas of food, health, water and sanitation, shelter, debris removal and also protection of the most vulnerable with the government.
It's a question of being able to marshal the resources you have and to get to the locations you can as quickly as you can.
Ipatuman karong semanaha ang nationwide price freeze tungod kay gibutang ubos sa state of national calamity ang nasod. Giklaro ni Department of Trade and Industry Director Victorio Di Magiba nga ubos sa price freeze dili madiktahan sa gobyerno ang presyo sa mga nag-unang palaliton. Apan ubos sa price freeze magpabili ng kasamtangan nga presyo sa mga palaliton. Matod sa Agriculture Department, himuong basihan sa price freeze ang presyo sa mga utanon sudod sa usa o duha ka semana human ang kalamidad. Lakip sab sa price freeze ang presyo sa LPG ug kerosene nga also covered by the price freeze. Magpabili ng price freeze hangtod libkason sa presidente ang state of national calamity.
I think what's important is people get to see that stocks are coming in, that supply is available so that we do not experience panic buying in the area.
Sa pagbalik sa Solar News Cebuano, mitanyag ug hinabang ang mga vice mayor sa tibuok nasod alang sa mga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda. Ang detalye sa among pagbalik. Gisiguro sa Malacañang nga mahatag yun ang mga hinabang ngadto sa mga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda. Kini human mikatap sa social media nga dunay mga artista o mga inilang tawo nga nagduda nga dili mahatag ngadto sa mga apektado ang mga hinabang ug makurakot ra. Gipasabot ni Presidential Spokesperson Edwin Lacerda ang proseso sa paghatag sa hinabang. Makigalayo na ang Department of Foreign Affairs ngadto sa international community ug national government. Ang kwarta nga ihatag mapadulong sa Department of Social Welfare and Development o sa Department of Interior and Local Government nga maoy mopalit sa supplies ug muila sa mga beneficiaries. Gisiguro sab sa palasyo nga walay mapahimulo sa relief efforts alang sa mga apektado sa bagyo. Una nang gibutyag sa Malacañang nga uyon kini nga i-audit ang tanang foreign aid. Misaad sab si Lacerda nga dalion ang clearing operation sa mga dalan aron mapadali sab ang paghatag og relief goods. Mihatag ang 28 ka mga nasod og hinabang ngadto sa mga apektado sa bagyo.
DFA will be giving us a list of all the donor countries, their forms of assistance. We'll also tabulate where the assistance went to para at least klaro po sa ating mga kababayan na itong mga tulong na binibigay ng ating mga kapitbahay ay talagang magagamit ayon sa kanyang pinag-donate.
Dunay gipahigayong briefing sa Malacañang karong orasa atong paminawon.
Was destroyed. Access to seaports and calamity areas was also made difficult by the debris left by the storm surge. Roads and bridges were also destroyed. Power and communication services have been restored in many areas. C-130 planes are now doing sunrise to sunset operations. The Philippine Navy and the Philippine Coast Guard have deployed all available naval assets and are tapping civilian auxiliary units to provide additional assistance. To facilitate delivery of aid, NDRRMC has established a one-stop shop which will integrate the flow of assistance to the calamity areas from government and private organizations. Just a brief announcement. The regular meeting of the NEDA has been deferred for next week inasmuch as the cabinet members are attending to the urgency of the ongoing relief and rehabilitation efforts. Secretary Almendras will now give further details on government's relief efforts, and we will address your questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunny. Good afternoon. I'm here to give a quick briefing on some of the things that have been discussed. Yesterday, the President called it was actually quite a long cabinet meeting with some members that are directly involved in the process. This is beginning to come out, this will come out to be one of the largest logistic and relief operation that the Philippine government has ever done in history. And the President wanted to make sure that we have aligned everything. Let me start by explaining the fact that we need to coordinate how we're going to work with the international community. Over the past 2 or 3 days, quite a number of head of states have been calling the President, have talked to him, offering the aid that they want to do and asking how and in what best way they can help. So one of the things we want to make sure is that whatever offer help, yung tulong po na gusto nilang ibigay sa atin, ay yung talagang makakatulong. So paliwanag ko lang po yung proseso para maintindihan ng mga kababayan natin and also to the rest of the international community. What we have agreed on is all international aid coordination must start and must be coursed through DFA. Yesterday po, I issued an information bulletin on the telephone numbers and the names of the people in DFA that should be contacted by any of the other international organizations or governments or individuals who want to donate or help in the fund. Now, the process will require that once DFA gets the information, DFA will have to determine kung ano po yung klaseng tulong na ibibigay nila. Marami po kasing klase yun. For example, the German government sent us a team, which is a self-contained team that can do search, rescue, help, and medical services. Okay, as we speak, that team is now landing in Giwan, in Samar. So we need to determine what is the configuration or the capacity po ng teams na ipapadala nila para malaman natin kung saan natin dapat dalhin. At alam kasi naintindihan din natin kung nasaan yung pangangailangan. So ang napagkasunduan po is from DFA, simultaneously, the minute they get the information, they will transmit to the appropriate agency. So for example, if it has to do with medical aid, either hospitals, medicines, or whatever related to medical, it will be simultaneously referred to both the Department of Health and to NDRRMC, NDRRMC being the central point. the Department of Health will automatically determine the content of the offer and will interact at the NDRRMC to determine where is the appropriate site. Saan po natin dadalhin tong particular na resources na to. Once that decision is made, then DFA will coordinate with the donor government or agency to iron out all the details. Now, paliwanag lang po namin kung bakit nagkakaiba yung designation at yung arrival. Di ba po nung Sabado pinaliwanag natin na meron tayong dalawang forward operating center, isa sa Tacloban, isa sa Rojas. Pinaliwanag rin natin at meron tayong dalawang logistic center which is Cebu and Iloilo, purposely para suportahan yung operation center. So, my best example po is recently or yesterday we had 2 C-130s from Taiwan. As a matter of fact, there's another 2 C-130s that's arriving at about 12:30 today. The decision on where to land is usually determined by, number one, the plane that they will be using. If the plane is very big and cannot be accommodated in Tacloban, obviously it will have to go to Cebu. Now, the other determination po is the goods that these planes carry. If the good donation is already pre-packed and ready for distribution, we will, and it is in the correct size of the airplane po, we will entertain that it be delivered directly to Tacloban. But if the goods are not ready for distribution, therefore it needs to be repacked or rehandled or any kind of processing pa po, we do not and will not encourage that it be brought to Tacloban. Instead, we'll bring it to Cebu because dun po sa Cebu, we will have the resources to do the repacking and whatever else is needed. And after it is handled, that's the time we will bring it to Tacloban or to Ormoc or to whatever destination. It will be determined that it should go through. So if it were a donation of goods, simultaneously the DFA will coordinate directly with the DSWD to determine kung ano tong mga contents na pinamimigay nila at saan dapat dadalhin, and also with NDRRMC. And the decision on where to bring these goods will happen again at NDRRMC. This explains the process po. Now, to help alleviate the challenges of bringing goods and people into the Philippines, we also decided na as much as possible, all incoming international flights will not be encouraged into the Metro Manila airports. Bakit po, di ba? Congested na rin po yung Ninoy Aquino International Airport. So ayaw natin dagdagan yung problema na yun, especially because these are very large planes. I think we had 2 747s that landed in Cebu yesterday. I think we have a Starlifter coming in either tonight or tomorrow morning from Israel. So if kung papayagan natin na maglanding to sa Manila, lalo lang hong mako-congest. So what we've decided on is we are going to set up a special processing center in Cebu. So the Bureau of Immigration will have a team there to process all the immigration requirements. For example, there is an offer from the Israeli government to send a 200-man contingent. So we need to make sure that we process all those people as fast as we can. Kaya naman po na paghihintayin pa natin sila. Now, so in Cebu will be a team from the Bureau of Immigration. I talked to Commissioner Mizon already about that. Now, if these people are going to be bringing medicines, then we also need to make sure that the Bureau, the Food and Drug Administration is appropriately represented. Hindi naman po natin i-inspection, and it's really just for record keeping and processing. So that will happen very quickly. And if they're coming in with doctors and with nurses or other professionals, again, we will have to process them through the Philippine Professional Regulation Commission. So para ho hindi na sila magtagal pa, meron ho tayong sineset up na one-stop shop dun sa Cebu para ma-process lahat, para mapabilis po yung number 1, pasok ng goods nila, number 2, pasok ng equipment and ng mga tao nila. So hopefully that answers the question on how we will coordinate and what we are doing to process the international donations. Of course, there will be donations in cash. We've issued, again, an information, the account numbers, and the recommended interaction with DSWD and the consular offices po. At this point, I will stop muna to answer questions on international relief. Then we'll talk about the local relief operations that we will do. Would you have any questions regarding international relief po?
Christian Esguerra of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. So obviously a lot of help is coming from the international community, but what do you say to the typhoon victim who's still waiting for help 5 days, for 5 days now?
Okay, I was going to discuss that on the other portion, no, but let's discuss what you have. In the first few days, the challenge was access. Subsequently, we've opened roads. May I just continue to discuss the local logistics operations so that you can understand what happens, okay? We have, as Sec Dinky mentioned, about 65, 50, I think about almost 65,000 food packs have already been distributed, di ba? And we know that there are people na sinasabing hindi pa nila natatanggap. Yung proseso po nun is, we've agreed here that we have a forward team in Tacloban, for example. So it has been decided that the main flow of goods will be Tacloban, Ormoc, and Giwan. Okay, bakit? Sinasabi na Giwan kasi has an airport. The Americans built a runway and an airport there, I think World War II pa ata yun. So we found that the airport is a very good resource so that we can move goods directly to the Samar area. So since yesterday or the day before yesterday, we have had direct flights of C-130s carrying relief goods to Giwan. Then there will be goods that go to Tacloban. Now, there will be very few flights from Manila to Ormoc because we can support the Ormoc Center from Cebu. Now, what's happening today? This morning at around 9 o'clock, I believe Sec Dinky would have landed in Ormoc. Why is she there? Because she is setting up a logistics center in Ormoc to support the southern Leyte towns that could not be reached from the Tacloban side. The decision was, if the local governments do not have the resources to handle that logistic process, the national government will step in. So what happened po is, Secretary Soliman had to bring in some of her resources from Mindanao para sila mag-ooperate nun. Now, the intention there is so that hindi lang galing sa Tacloban yung goods, kundi pati galing na rin sa Ormoc, considering that we have a Cebu center that is also producing goods. So the Ormoc center will be supported from Tacloban, from Cebu by ship. We are trying to schedule flights also to Ormoc, specifically today, because we have so many goods that we want to move to that area. Now, from Tacloban naman po, the Americans are making available some Ospreys. These are smaller aircraft that can move to smaller airports, and I think they're actually vertical lift. So we will distribute resources to the remote areas that cannot be reached directly. Now, we will not deny the fact and we will not insist na lahat po nakatanggap because meron naman talagang hindi nakatanggap. What we're saying is we need help in reaching all this na hindi pa nakatanggap. If the estimate is about 45,000 families in Tacloban. If we've already moved over 60,000 food packs of 6 kilo rice and all that, which is good for 4 or 5 days, there should be enough. But we accept the fact that we have had to move resources outside Tacloban and used it at that po. So in answer to your question, where are the international goods? A lot of them are still coming. Those that have landed here, I think people have seen aircrafts land here and start delivering items. Some of the items that they carry with them are not necessarily relief items. They are support equipments and relief and goods for their own being. Kasi a lot of the international aid po is, lahat kung nagpadala sila ng tao dito, they're called self-contained. Meaning they will feed themselves, they have brought enough food, enough water to operate on their own without any resources from us. That is why you would see a lot of things being unloaded. So far, the goods that have actually been arriving that are for distribution are really the ones that came from Taiwan, which only started yesterday, and which we're already moving into the Ormoc Center sometime today before this afternoon. We're shipping them via air and via boat from Ormoc. Now, let's talk about the logistics support from Manila. We are moving goods. The packing centers here in Manila are producing a lot. Now, we are moving these goods to Tacloban in 3 forms. One by air, which is through the C-130s. Each C-130 flight can only carry 1,500 food packs. Okay, now we are trucking them, which is by land, and we're also shipping them by boat. So there was the first 15,000 packs that have been received there. There's another boat that's leaving to, may have left this morning. It's a very big boat that was the owner. I think it's a Norwegian line, offered to do a free trip to Tacloban. That is fully loaded with relief goods and supplies. And so the supplies to Tacloban po are coming in three forms. Now, Giwan. The good news about Giwan is yesterday afternoon, nabuksan na po ng DPWH yung daan on the eastern side of Samar, which is really the area na hindi ma-penetrate in the past few days. So we will use Giwan as the main center, as a satellite center, para lahat po ng goods, whether galing sa Manila or galing sa Cebu, doon dadalhin sa Giwan. Now, you can reach Giwan by air and by land from Manila, but if it comes from Cebu, it will be by air only. So, we will put the resources in Giwan para masuportahan din natin lahat ng mga towns on the eastern side of Samar from Giwan. So that explains the scenario. Now, why goods are not reaching some people, that's really a local issue that we're trying to address now. So SecDinki is working with local governments, with barangay captains, because these are the most powerful channels that we can use to make sure that goods flow to where they are. Alam nyo, in an ideal scenario po, which is something that happened in Davao Oriental during Typhoon Pablo, when immediately after the disaster, the barangay captains organized the puroks. Now, di ba, totally devastated yung Katiil. Ang maganda po doon na nangyari is they segregated themselves according to barangay, according to purok, and then may leader. So, dahil may listahan kami kung sino tong mga taon to, saan sila nandoon, madaling abutin, madaling padalahan ng goods. Our challenge in the first few days was, one, how to go there. Walang sasakyan, sarado yung mga daan. Now we're clearing, the military is there, the PNP is there. More access is has been cleared. So now it's about making sure na maabot yung mga tao na kailangan abutin. And that, unfortunately, is local knowledge. That's why DSWD is trying to work very closely with local authorities po.
Sir, how do you address that? You mentioned before, or other officials mentioned before, that there's no working local government in certain areas.
In certain areas, sir, DSWD has stepped in. That's why DSWD is so stretched right now. DSWD is moving resources from Mindanao and from the rest, wherever they can come from. They can be taken and bringing them to all these areas so that we can have a more effective distribution po.
Sir, how soon can the government reach these isolated areas?
We
and
are
bring
planning to reach the rest of Leyte today because, well, they've already been reached, no? It's about making sure the supplies flow. So, that's why Secretary Dinky Soliman is in Ormoc today to address that. Kasi sa north side, gumagalaw na eh. Tacloban to I think up to Palo, and then 2 or 3 towns there. Yung Tanawan is the one that naiipit. And the access from the south is faster. Kaya dun ipapa-flow yung goods po.
So just to emphasize, especially for those listening, no, how soon can these victims receive actually relief goods from the government?
You know, sir, I'd like to give you a date and a time if possible, but that is not within it is not within the national government's control how effectively we can hit the ground. Okay, there are places which are very remote, which we need to know of so that we can reach them. Now, as far as the municipios, the towns are concerned and all that, that is already happening. So if it were for somebody who is in a population center or in a main center of a town, that would already be happening now. Baka kulang, yes, we are going to accelerate, which is actually the next topic I was going to explain, how and what we are going to do to accelerate the relief goods production. Please understand, sir, there has never been anything at the magnitude of what we are trying to do now. Not in size, not in volume, not in even the breadth of it. The logistics alone, we discussed over 2.5 hours last night talking about how to move goods, where to move goods, how many trucks you need, how many, even from packing center to shipping center. It's not a small amount that of work that needs to be done. So admittedly, we are at a certain level today. We have a dream. It's not a dream. We have a target to accelerate significantly, which is what the President's instruction was last night. And over the next few days, we have a very challenging task assigned to some of us who are part of the discussions on how to increase po the output of repacking po. You know, there are many other organizations that are helping, and we're very generous. I mean, their generosity we truly appreciate. But when they pass it to government, okay, hindi po, sana po, it's as simple as just repacking the goods. That's problem number one. Problem number two is getting it from that repacking center into a truck, a container, or what have you that will bring it to the destination. Problem number three is when it gets to the destination, how do you distribute it effectively? So, may division of labor po kami doon. So, SecDinky is working on the distribution there as far as the immediate area of Samar and Leyte is concerned. We are working here with the rest of her team to work on packing. DTI is helping in the procurement, NFA is providing, so on and so forth. It's literally a very, very big production line that needs to work together po.
Sir, now let's talk about the bodies. How soon can the government process all these bodies?
The bodies are being worked on. The casualties, the numbers are coming in. We've already, there was 1,100 and then 1,000 plus I think. Kung the cadaver bag, there was a report that the reason why the bodies are not being handled is because there was a lack of cadaver bags. We have about 4,000 bags there already. I am not saying that the casualties are 4,000. Okay, as reported, the casualties at about over 1,000 pa lang. We're just saying, again, we're overdoing it. We're making sure that there is an oversupply para that will not be the reason for the delay po. There's a discussion on the identification. The NBI is stepping up to do the identification because the PNP teams that are there, even the SOCO teams, are so busy in retrieval and clearing operations po.
Sir, some people are wondering if there's really a master plan to address a disaster of this scale.
Yes.
What's your response to that?
Yes, there is a master plan. That's
And
why
is
we
it
had
working?
to find it. Well, this is the first time we're going to try it at this magnitude. So far, so far things are moving. So far, goods are moving. So far, the numbers are beginning to accelerate. We're stepping up. So it's really the resources. You cannot imagine the magnitude of resources that need to be made available to do this. You know, sir, for example, we're moving 58 or 60,000 food packs to Tacloban. One of the options is to load, diba? There's a discussion na magpapadala ng buses doon para masakyan ng mga tao, diba? So walang laman yung mga buses going there. So we're loading it with food packs. Okay, every single opportunity or channel that we can use to move goods into Tacloban, into that general area, we are exploring it and we are using it po. Because the volume of goods to move is just so big, we need to move it there. How we wish we had, well, not siguro, even if we had 50 C-130s, we cannot fly everything by C-130. Already we have safety issues in Tacloban Airport, so that's why they're trying to impose a discipline on the flights coming into Tacloban. So even if we had 50 C-130s, Tacloban Airport at this point in time cannot handle 50 C-130s a day. No? So we are exploring every possible way to move goods into the area po.
Sir, lastly, and this master plan is the one that the details that you mentioned earlier.
Yes, this is the ones that we were working on last night to expand. Some of the basic things have been there in NDRMC even before. But because of the scale of the operations, we had to adjust it. We had to expand it. Which brings us to that. Remember challenge number 1, which is repacking of goods? So we're going to accelerate repacking of goods and we're going to be opening new centers. DSWD is already working on it. They're identifying space where it can happen, warehouses where we can store it, because that's also another area. You repack, but if you cannot ship it right away, you need a place to store otherwise. So we're very happy that some of the schools and universities have stepped up. The SWD has signed up an agreement with one of the universities, and there are 4 other universities that are also offering. So we will have repacking in those universities. We are also stepping up repacking in the major cities throughout the country. Okay, so there are places like Cagayan de Oro, places like Davao, are all stepping up. The SWD will be expanding their centers there, their supply centers there, to be able to pack additional goods so that they can contribute. Now, the plan is, that's why the discussions were so long, is because we had to iron out. So if Davao is going to produce this much, Cagayan de Oro is going to produce this much, how are we going to move all of those relief goods into Tacloban? So that again, the President appointed Secretary Junabaya as the SAR on how to move things. He's the transport guru now. So air, land, and sea is at his disposal to make sure we move the goods just as fast as we can pack them po.
Ori Kalikang of the Philippine Star.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, we appreciate the realistic statements and we understand them because siguro dahil wala po kami doon, hindi kami gutom, but syempre iba po yung naririnig namin at nababalita from the ground. And yung mga banner stories po ngayon ay gusto na nilang, may mga taong gusto na pong umalis doon. So we would like to know if there are planes or ships being readied para kung gusto po nilang umalis doon. Narinig ko po kanina si Red Cross Chairman Gordo na magsiset up sila ng place sa Cebu para mag-put up ng tents doon. Doon na muna sila. Because as you say na binibilisan namin yung pag-relief goods, baka hindi naman din po nila naiintindihan na they're coming because hindi nga po yung sitwasyon.
Okay.
So,
Also,
meron po bang ganong plano? Kasi nabanggit nyo na rin po yun na people are fleeing the disaster
Okay,
areas.
when I was in Tacloban, Sunday, we were in the airport. I actually helped load 2 of the C-130s coming back. Priority was injured. So yung injured, we were making sure that they are on the flights out, and most of them were sent to Cebu. There would be about 100, depending kung may mga bata, may mga injured, no? 150 people per plane load could be accommodated. No? So the decision to move out in Tacloban was very clear from day one. That's precisely why government said, wala namang load yung mga aircraft na pabalik. We will allow civilians to use that. I can imagine why people will want to move out. So the movement has been boats, would have been good. But we had a problem in the port area. Although the pier itself was restored, the Navy vessels have actually docked. There is a problem with commercial shipping because yung pilotage have to make sure na walang masasabitan yung mga barko when they come in. And we know there's so many cars and so many things that the storm surge brought into that area. We are hoping that will be cleared today so that the commercial shipping can come in. That's another way that people can move out. As I told you, buses are being dispatched to make sure that the route coming from Manila there magagamit rin yun. So we're hoping that those who want to come to Manila can also come by bus. And we're also hoping that light commercial traffic, airplanes can come in yung turboprop. But the recommendation was Tacloban, Cebu. So the choice to fly is Tacloban, Cebu, or C-130 Tacloban, Manila, or by bus or by boat. Hopefully will be available in the next day or 2 po.
Okay, sir. Sir, nangingi rin po ng clarification yung ibang media entities dun sa binigay na figure ni Presidente dun sa number of casualties kung 2,000 to 2,500 based on body count daw po ba yun ng NDRRMC Or estimates din po ba yon? At ano daw po yung basis
I'm
ng
sorry,
estimates?
I actually don't know the details. No, I believe I just came from. I was in NDRMC this morning. I had a meeting to set up something, but I think they're going to release another round of casualty figures around noon, by noon today if they haven't already released po. So I would not venture to mention a number kasi talagang wala. I do not know the details on that one po.
Pero we can go by the statement that it's not gonna be 10,000 or it's not 10,000 at this time.
At this time po, it is definitely not 10,000. There has been a body count based on yung nadadaanan, but we cannot be accurate because there are still, some people say there are people buried in certain areas, meron ding mga na living na. So we cannot, I'd rather let the NDRMC process and the PNP process be the one to determine the actual count po.
Sir, last na lang po, if they're moved out of Tacloban and other disaster areas, how do you plan to take care of them? Kung halimbawa wala naman pong kamag-anak dito sa Manila.
Well, a
or
lot of
nearby
those
area.
who've actually decided to move are those na may kamag-anak at may pupuntahan. Yung wala pong pupuntahan are deciding to stay. The good thing is if they decide to stay, they're guaranteed of relief goods. No? Both government relief goods and the international relief goods coming. So we're hoping that if people see that there are goods coming and we address also the temporary shelter, then some people might decide to stay or might decide to come back. We understand also the karamihan talaga ng gustong lumipat are those na may mga kamag-anak. Although I was able to talk to a few people who were just talking to their kamag-anaks and say, hindi na lang kami pupunta dyan, padalhan nyo na lang kami dito. No? So it really is a personal decision and a decision that is based on the unique circumstance of each family or each person. There was one guy who I talked to who lost all the members of his family and yet he was not going to leave. He was saying, kahit wala na silang lahat, I'm going to stay here. So, iba-ibang ano po yan, parang iba-ibang decision po.
Florante Rosales of DZRH.
Sir, magandang hapon po. Sir,
Hapon po.
di po ba ang sabi ng Pangulo, wala dapat kulay politika dito sa distribution ng relief goods? Pero base po sa reports ng aming mga field reporters sa Tacloban, hiwalay pa yung relief operations na may sariling operation center sa airport ang DSWD o grupo ni Secretary Rojas. Habang ang grupo ni Mayor Alfred Romualdez na meron din sa City Hall, bakit hindi na lang po pagsamahin para mas mabilis yung sistema ng distribution at hindi nagagalit yung mga biktima sa ating gobyerno, sir?
Okay. First of all, yung distansya po. It might not be a long distance, but considering the damage, yung mga poste, these are really different areas. As a matter of fact, the plan is to open 2 more distribution centers in Tacloban. Dahil nga walang sasakyan, walang coaching, karamihan sa mga sasakyan doon, by the way, are sira. Even the government vehicles. Yung tubig po kasi was so high and so violent na nakita niyo naman sa pictures, pinagbabaliktad yung sasakyan. So considering na walang mga sasakyan, and people were complaining na ang layo ng lalakarin nila para magkumuha ng goods, kaya dinistribute ng ganon. Bakit po meron sa City Hall, bakit meron sa airport? Yung sa airport po, kasi every time may magla-landing na C-130, may dalang relief goods. Lalong tatagal pa po kung hihintayin na i-transport pa yon to another section para i-distribute. That's why the decision was, nandito na rin yung relief goods natin, let's start distributing it. Yung support naman po dun na sa munisipyo, dun actually both sites, hindi po sa mayor. Both sites are national government sites. Hindi po na si Mayor Romualdez dito or what. Baka naman ho si Mayor Romualdez napadaan lang doon or is there. Both sites are actually being supported by the SWD. And as I said, we plan to open 2 more centers po para mas mabilis yung... The important thing po talaga is to restore the government structure. Now, the minute may re-establish natin yung who are the members, sino itong barangay na to, sino kapitan, sino mga tao, sino mga purok leaders. The minute may establish yun, mas mabilis yung processing po. And dahil wala nga, national government is doing it. We're the ones putting it into place. We're trying to establish that.
Kalawa, Secretary, nung Lunes po, naitanong ko rin po sa inyo sa briefing na kung pwede gawin ng airdrops ng pagkain sa malalayong lugar na mahirap talagang mapasok by land. Naisagawa na po ba ito natin mga tauhan o yung mga
Actually, this
airport?
was done in Eastern Samar, but it was only done for one run because we were able to identify nga na mas mabuti na imbis na chopper, kasi ang chopper konti lang nadadala eh. Mas mabuti na magpadala ng C-130. So yun yung nangyari. Dahil isolated pa yung area na yun, yung C-130 sa Giwan, yun ang naging source ng relief goods po. And then from there, nadidistribute na rin po. I think in Eastern Leyte, there were some areas also that they were trying to address.
Sir,
One more thing po is, mahirap yung airdrop kung may safety issue po dun sa chopper eh. Ideally, mas safe talaga na mag-landing and i-drop yung ganun po.
Di po ba may mga Osprey ang American na pinadala dito? 4 yon. Kahit walang airstrip, pwede silang mag-landing
Yes.
vertically. Hindi po ba natin
Hopefully,
pwedeng-
today we can start using the Ospreys because the Americans din po, the first few flights of all their aircraft have been to provide, yun ang sinasabi ko, they brought their generators, their equipment, and all that. So, as a matter of fact, DSWD is now appealing to the Americans because yung 8 nilang C-130, we want them to allow us to use it to transport relief goods. Because, 8 C-130 at 1,500 per plane load. If I can fly 8 flights into Tacloban, that's 10,000 right then and there. You're going to see 10,000 food packs there, no? So that is being coordinated with the U.S. Embassy and USAID. I think the U.S. representatives po by the SWD.
Last question, Secretary. Ano po ang masasabi ng palasyo sa pagdadalawang isip naman ng ilang bansa gaya ng Japan at Germany na idaan sa ating mga barangay chairman at mayor yung donasyon nila dahil sa pangamba na makurakot lang at hindi makarating sa mga biktima. Mas gusto raw po nila yung pribadong organization na lang ang magbigay nito. Paano po natin sila makumbinsin na idaan ito sa kami ng pamahalaan, Secretary?
Okay. Ang tanong ko po is that an official statement for the Japanese government? Because I've actually been talking to the Japanese ambassador and the Japanese Prime Minister, talked to the President and said, I would rather course the resources through you in government. No? Both cash and non-cash items of Japan, they are insisting, must be coursed through the government organization po. No? So, but hindi ko po masisisi kung may mga tao na magdududa niyan. As a matter of fact, prangkahan lang po, no? Meron din ako natatanggap na reports na one of the reasons bakit merong mga tao na nagsasabing wala pa rin kaming natatanggap and yet I know na may dineliver na into some of those areas, there seems to be a political consideration. That is why Sec Dinky is there operating to go full blast na without having to go through some of those challenges. In the same breath po, Sec Dinky has also decided that there really are some LGUs na talagang I don't want to use mapagkakatiwalaan. There are some LGUs that will be very effective in distribution. So we will even download to them raw materials. Ibig sabihin, papadala namin sila ng truck-truck na bigas, truck-truck na dilata, at sila na mag-repack at sila na mag-distribute. Because the Secretary on the ground has found that some of them are going to be good and effective in delivering that. So, mahirap po magdesisyon dito. Kaya nga tayo naglagay ng forward command center, di ba? Kasi it's very important that they understand what's happening on the ground para ma-operate po nila yung kung anong best way to do it there po. Thank you.
Ayun na.
Okay na?
Christian, sir, has a follow-up question on
Yes, Christian.
what you just said.
May extra
Six
charge.
Thank you very
people are
much for
giving way to
the
your
accommodation. Then you mentioned, sir, something about reports you've been getting that some people who were saying that they were not yet
I did
getting.
not say reports, report. I heard a report.
A
Somebody
report.
texted me.
But can you elaborate on that? Because that might be a great disservice to the people who are complaining.
I agree. Di ba, when we started here last Saturday, my great appeal was, this is a time na magtutulungan tayo. Dapat walang kulay politika, walang makikinabang, nobody can take advantage of it, and should, di ba? And I continue to make that appeal. You know, contrary to many rumors about how the interaction of President Aquino was with Mayor Romualdez and Congressman Romualdez, pwedeng magtanong, who is the TV station that featured na inaakbayan ko daw po si Mayor? Because somebody told me na lumabas daw sa TV na inaakbayan ko si Mayor. May nagtanong sa akin bakit mo inakbayan, sir? Umiiyak ba si Mayor? Hindi po. Talagang, this is a time na walang kulay. This is a time na regardless of what your family name is, we are going to work together to make it happen. As a matter of fact, Congressman Martin told me after I spent almost an hour with him and the mayor, sabi niya, Sek, believe kami sa Pangulo. Talagang all out siya. Talagang he really wants to help the people that are needed now. That's the correct attitude po. And I think that's the way you should all be, di ba?
Yes, we agree, sir. Pero not to debate with you, no? Pero don't you think that's unfair to even raise this possibility of political considerations, considering the magnitude of the damage?
We
that
did
they
not raise
experienced?
that, sir. I did not raise the issue of political considerations. There was a question about what are we doing to avoid that. So I explained to you what we're trying to do to avoid it, sir. I think the issue is that we want to move as many resources to as many people as much as we can. Wala po kaming sinisisi. Sinasabi namin na it would have been nicer if these structures were available. But because nga biktima din yung some of the local government officials, alam niyo po yung one of my first questions to Mayor Romualdez, Mayor, ilan po sa mga konsehal niyo ang okay na? Sabi niya, sa totoo lang, Sek, hindi ko pa alam. But sigurado ako, buhay yung 8. And we can account for them. Sabi ko, have they already been at the City Hall? Have they? And the next question is, how many barangays do you have? How many barangay captains? So, all of those things are touch and go po. We're not blaming them. We're saying, we're acknowledging the fact na talagang some of the areas talagang hindi pa ho alam, hindi humahanap si barangay captain. So, one of the tips that I told him nga was, one of the things that happened in Compostela Valley and in Davao Oriental was due to the urgency of the situation. If the barangay captain really is not available kasi hinahanap pa or cannot be accounted for, is to look for one of the purok leaders or one of those with strong leadership qualities and connections in an area that can take over that role block. So, I need to correct the impression. We are not saying, or baka misquote tayo, tinanong po ako that there are political considerations. I said, okay, I acknowledge that I have heard such reports, but I am saying these are not confirmed. We're not sure of that. But we are going to make sure that, and I would like to think that there are more people who will do the right thing po.
Jen Kabiling of Manila Bulletin, and then Mikael of Business World.
Hello, sir. Sir, you mentioned the government has a master plan to deal with this calamity. I'm just wondering why can't you give a timeline how soon the survivors, the calamity victims, can actually receive the goods? Hindi nyo pa ba masabi na in a day or 2 or a week na makukuha nila?
We have our targets, but here's problem number 1 po. It's just how many people need to be helped, in what degree. That is so wide right now. Sana ho merong tayong listahan or numero na, okay, in this town. And I'm not saying all, in some municipalities, that is ready. Okay? I was in the airport in Tacloban. The mayor of Tanawan arrived there and he told me, Sek, ito yung epekto sa amin, ito yung buhay, ito yung patay, ito yung ano. So, that helps a lot because once you know that, you will know how much resources to send. In some areas na hindi mo alam yung actual, papadala ka hoping that it's enough. And you will find out whether it's kulang or not later on when you will realize na kulang pala. So, the only reason why I cannot tell you, ma'am, na exactly when you will get it is we need to have that data. Ayoko naman po magsabing 100% na tayo covered. I think significantly malaki na po ang coverage. As a matter of fact, every day we check kung how many more areas ang hindi pa nako-cover. So, paliwanag natin. DOST made an analysis. May mapa ho kung saan dumaan yung bagyo. Based on kung saan yung dumaan yung bagyo and gaano kalakas yung hangin ng dumaan yung bagyo doon, ang ginawa ng DOST, gumawa sila ng listahan ng lahat ng munisipyo that probably the municipalities that were affected by the storm in varying degrees. So lahat ng signal number 4, signal number 3, the assumption is will be very significantly damaged. So based on that, binigay sa DILG yun and said, okay, let's verify. May listahan tayo ng potentially damaged municipalities. Let's verify the extent here. So, two things happened. May mga nakalista doon that were not adversely affected. Why? Because may bundok pala or whatever. Pero meron ding mga towns na hindi kasama doon sa listahan ng DOST na identifying the potentially damaged na nasiraan din. So, nadagdag po yun. So, and that effort continues. Kung yung municipality na reach mo na, you have to go to the barangay level. Barangay, you have to go down to the sitio, yung purok level na. Naabot na ba itong mga to? And then we can say, pag kumpleto na yun, then we can say naabot na namin.
Sir, what do you say to the victims? Should they stay in where they are, wait for the relief goods, or should they leave the area, especially Tacloban? Are you advising them to leave the
Tacloban,
area?
ma'am, as I said, is really an individual personal decision. Okay? What is happening in Tacloban is those who are relatives and have somewhere to go would really much rather move out first. Now, not all the houses in Tacloban were destroyed. So there are those na sa tingin naman nila hindi ganun kasira, provided they can have resources, they'd rather stay. Di ba, meron na hong gasolina doon, meron ng cell signal, meron ng water is being made available to the emergency plants that are being set up. So some of them are actually deciding dito na lang kami. But then again, there are those who will decide na aalis. One of our team members here, one of the executive assistants of Ricky, she went home to check out her family. I saw her there. I asked her, how's your family? Sir, okay lang. Are they going to move out? Sabi, hindi sir, stay na lang. They'd rather stay because okay naman sila. So, ganun po yung timpla nun. Mahirap pong ako magsabi na umalis na kayo dyan o hindi. Basta kung sinong, ang assumption po namin is kailangan natin, we need to provide for those who are in Tacloban. And some of them are not even from Tacloban. Some of them are from outside Tacloban who moved into Tacloban.
Sir, are you providing free flights or ships to transfer them out of?
Nobody is being charged for the C-130 flight out, and we've been flying everybody who we can accommodate out of the plane, so either to Cebu or to Manila. There's a discussion also on the buses being studied right now, how to execute it po.
Sir, have you appealed to private airlines to pitch in and contribute
Yeah.
to?
The problem really is you have a limitation on the number of airplanes you can handle in the Tacloban airport because you don't have the equipment, you don't have lights. Although we're talking to someone who's willing to give temporary lights, that's one of the aid being offered by one of the countries. We'll give you temporary landing lights, we'll even provide generators and all that. Yes, padala niyo, okay? So that we can hopefully increase the capacity. We need to move kasi yung inbound load is the one that's very critical.
Sir, last question.
Yes,
Sir,
please.
U.S. President Obama has called our president. Can you give us details about it? And did the President Aquino, ask for more aid, especially the helicopters you were saying?
I think
C-130.
they discussed something. I'm so sorry. I was in the palace when they were talking, but we were in the meeting. We were ironing out this plan on how to provide food for X number of families. So I actually don't know well, I'm sure they talked about relief goods or supplies, but nothing ano po. No more questions.
Sir,
Ano pa?
dami pang nakapila. Wait.
Meron pa. Okay.
Bombo Raymond Tinasa. Oh, sorry, Mikael, I already called you. Go ahead. Then Bombo.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, in terms of percentage, how many of those affected areas have yet to be reached by government, and does the government have targets
Very
on this?
little. As a matter of fact, I think we're down to 4 or 3, 4 more specific areas that need to be reached. I would imagine that would be reached by today by chopper or by ano po.
4 areas meaning municipalities?
Sometimes it's a municipality, sometimes it's that's why I use the term area po because but let's understand anong ibig sabihin ng reach. Reach means may nakausap na doon, naka-interact na, that means hindi sila isolated. But as far as reach, of goods or repair or clearing, that's ongoing. The good news is lahat ng major roads are now open. So things are flowing already. DPWH was very aggressive in fixing the roads po, or temporary bridges at that one.
Bombo Raymond?
Sir, going to the peace and security concern, what's the report from the PNP and the AFP? Is the situation about looting already under control?
I understand it has significantly improved in Tacloban. We are making sure, there are many reports, I'm sure you've been getting the text messages. We are securing the main supply lines. So General Purisima was suggesting that, you know, the movement of goods, significant goods from Manila to Tacloban are better off coming in convoys so that it's easier to monitor and to ano po. As to the extent of whether zero na talaga, I really don't know at this point po.
Yeah, because this morning 10 were killed and the warehouse of NFA collapsed in Alang-Alang, Leyte, and also in Guian, Samar already attacked, or Giwan already attacked by looters from other towns, which that came from the area.
There are security forces in Guian already, so that will hopefully address it. There's both PNP and AFP that's moving into, especially ngayon na bukas na yung daan po. So I'm sorry, I'm not so literate on the security issues because I'm really focusing on relief operations po, no? But our coordination with them is making sure that our convoys and our goods are safe as they move into those areas po.
Also, sir, they are saying about the checkpoints established in the San Juanico Bridge.
That has been addressed. Those checkpoints are now military and police checkpoints.
Okay. Also, sir, when did the national government start taking over the relief operations in Tacloban, Leyte?
I don't know if there's a date po eh, kasi parang we didn't ask questions na lang. Parang there's a problem here. Saturday morning, di ba? First flight out. I remember that because the night before, Sec Dinky and I were talking, and she was saying, I have to go. And we were scheduling a first C-130 flight. At 2 o'clock in the morning, we were loading the plane. And when Dinky, alam mo naman si Sec Dinky, di ba? Pag give her something to do, she'll do it. Walang tanong yun. I mean, in the interest of humanitarian issues, beyond politics, beyond color, get it done. So I can't give you a specific time na there's a takeover. All we're saying is we are moving as best as we can to address the problem po.
Sir, also just to clarify, kasi an international correspondent is saying, and it's now trending over Twitter, yung his observation that is the first time he's seeing military personnel doing some actual clearing operations.
You know, in fairness po to our military, wala na pong, not just the military, in all the government officials that are there in Tacloban helping, and even ordinary Filipinos, wala na hong position description eh. Kung anong pwedeng itulong-tulong na lang. Last night, as a matter of fact, we were talking about repacking. So, pinag-usapan kasi, the President wanted the details ironed out. So, sabi niya, kailangan alam kung, okay, how many police will be in this packing center, how many will escort and all. And si General Purisima was joking and saying, ilan ba talagang, how many policemen do you need to secure a convoy this much? And we were, you know, in a lighter moment, General Purisima said, kung hindi sila kasama sa mag-repack, konti lang. Okay? But that happens. The police that are there intended to provide security are actually helping repack because they see na kailangan gumalaw. No? So it's marami pong, I'm happy that there's a comment like that. No? That dito sa Pilipinas, hindi tayo position description sensitive or eto lang trabaho ko. There have been some difficult comments also from the international press. Pero okay lang yan, ganyan ang buhay. All I can say is, we don't claim to be perfect. We're really trying our very best, and so far the things we're doing seem to be effective. It's just that we have not seen anything at the magnitude that we are seeing now po. we were talking of a few thousand families in Pablo. This is hundreds of thousands already. So the magnitude po is big. No?
Sir, last question. Is with that magnitude of devastation and chaos or violence being reported, is there any plan for the president to return to Tacloban or Leyte to personally supervise the relief, rescue, and rehabilitation efforts, just like what he did in Zamboanga?
I wouldn't be surprised if the president will go back there again. But you know, the president's always very cautious na kung yung presence niya doon ay makakadagdag lang sa problema, wag na lang. The minute he sees that it will not stifle anymore, whether it's a C-130 flight or aircraft being used for his security, I'm sure he will make those decisions. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be surprised if he does it. I'm not saying he will because that's really his decision po.
Thank you, sir.
Michael Ubak of the Philippine Daily Inquirer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon po.
Sir, just a few questions. Sir, with ships, planes, and even aircraft carrier coming in, how soon will the UK and the US assets coming in?
I'm actually not sure exactly when they're arriving, but we're hoping they will come soon because they will definitely help us. An aircraft carrier will help us control airspace, and pilots will feel a lot safer about, you can only have a certain amount of aircraft within a certain airspace, and we're really stretching that as far as Tacloban is concerned. Without equipment, kasi destroyed yung equipment. So, like you, Mike, I'm hoping that they will arrive soon. Now, it takes them a while to set up also, no? Just like what we're seeing now. The Japanese team, first group was 25, I think. There's a big plane coming, but there's a support structure that's needed. So, yun ang problema talaga. Yung malalaking eroplano na, tons and tons of equipment, Cebu lang talaga. Hindi natin talaga pwedeng dalhin sa Tacloban. So, kailangan natin ayusin pa yung galing sa Cebu papunta dun.
Sir, ang marami kasi nagko-comment, why not kasi nga sobrang yung sheer magnitude of the disaster is really mind-boggling. Why can't we do airdrops in mountain barangays, one, and number two, in island municipalities or villages? I tweeted Homonhon Island 3 days ago, 5,000 people in around 8 barangays, cut off since Friday from civilization. Did we hear anything from them?
Yes, the choppers have been sent there. The choppers have been sent there. I mean, sorry Mike, ang problema natin hindi remote mountain barangay. Sa totoo lang, yung mga nasa mountain barangay, okay sila.
Bumaba na sila.
Hindi sila bababa, okay naman sila dun. There's no significant damage. Habit, they're okay. It's really the sea line. It's really the coastal area. It was really the storm surge that did the most harm. Okay? To be honest with you, the ones that really are yung talagang tinamaan, yung nasa coastline. So hindi po kasi yung mga nakatira naman doon, meron silang guard. Di ba? I'm sure, sorry, ako, probinsyano kasi alam ko kung what it is to live in the mountain. Kompleto ka doon eh. You have a water source, you have plants, trees, you normally have a stock of rice which you buy every week. You don't di ba, bumababa ka sa bayan once a month, bibili ka ng isang sako and so forth. So, ang talagang natamaan na medyo na-wipe out, yung coastal area talaga. So, yun ang inaabot. And the islands, yes, we agree with the islands.
Kasi with weather clearing now, somehow, yung mag-airdrop na lang tayo ng relief. Kasi
actually,
nga,
you don't need to airdrop because we can land
DCBB
choppers.
ngayon lang on the way to Malacanang. Tanawan was reached just today. And Tanawan has, I think, 52 to 54 barangays. 100 lang na food packs ang dala. Yun yung issue.
The issue there, sir, is that province, that area was supposed to be taken care of. There was a discussion with the provincial government. Nagpadala ng sacks of rice doon, I think the capital is Palo, to process that, no? And then moving on from there. We do not know the details. Baka naman talagang kulang, baka naman ipit sila. So now we're directly supplying some of these areas as we get the goods into Tacloban. Diba? We're using Tacloban as a staging point also because nga the airport is there and the main port is there po. And again, from the south, once the Ormoc Center is moving goods, then we can also reach some of those below Tanawan po.
Sir, at isa pang maraming concern,
Mao kadto ang briefing sa Malacañang kabahin sa epekto sa bagyong Yolanda, ilabi na sa paghatag og hinabang ngadto sa mga apektado. Gipasabot ni Secretary to the Cabinet Jose Rene Almendras nga ang Department of Foreign Affairs ang makig-alayon sa international community ug ahensya alang sa mga hinabang. Duna sa logistics centers aron suportahan ang operation center sa mga relief goods. Dugang ni Almendras kung mamahimo dili tanang international flights nga dunay relief goods ang motugpa sa Ninoy Aquino International Airport tungod kay congested na kini. Dunay special processing center sa Cebu alang sa mga dalon nga hinabang gikan sa mga foreign organizations. Alang sa mga lokal nga hinabang gibutyag ni Almendras nga pinaagi sa Department of Social Welfare and Development ang pag-apod-apod sa hinabang. Gisiguro sab ni Almendras nga hatagan og hinabang ang mga hilit na lugar sa Kabisayan. Giapod-apod pinaagi sa mga C-130 planes ug barko ngadto sa mga lugar nga lisod-sudlan sa mga nagdala og hinabang. Gisaad ni Almendras nga gipaningkamutan ni Social Welfare Secretary Dinky Soliman nga mapadalan og hinabang ang mga hilit nga lugar. Matod ni Almendras, nagpadala na sab ang gobyerno og 4,000 nga bags alang sa mga patay nga lawas. Gilimod sab ni Almendras nga moabot sa 10,000 katawo ang namatay tungod sa bagyong Yolanda. Balik ta sa balita, anda mo dawat ang Subo sa mga mubakwit nga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda sa Kabisayan. Dugang detalye pinaagi ni Twini Malinaw. Twini?
Yes, Hillary, bukas ang dakbayan sa Subo sa pagdawat sa mga biktima sa bagyong Yolanda gikan sa Leyte. Apan giawhag sa dakbayan nga mohatag usab unta og mga evacuation centers ang ubang lokal nga pangagamhanan. Mihangyo ang Department of Social Welfare and Development 7 ngadto sa dakbayan nga himuon unang evacuation center ang Cebu City Sports Center alang sa pagpahiluna sa 300 ka mga pamilya gikan sa Tacloban City. Miabot kining mga biktima sa bagyo sa Mactan Air Base kagahapon. Gipasiunhan ni Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama nga kung dili available ang City Sports Center sanglit gamiton man kining venue alang sa Central Visayas Regional Athletic Association konsideraa sunod buwan, misugyot siya nga mamahimo usab magamit ang Barangay Tinago Gymnasium o Cebu Coliseum isip temporary shelter sa mga biktima. Gi-designate sa Department of Transportation and Communications kon DOTC ang Subo isip sentro sa evacuation nunot sa nahitabong kalamidad. Samtang misaka na ang patay sa Central Visayas ngadto na sa 59 matod sa Office of the Civil Defense sa Region 7. Miabot og hapit 30,000 ka mga balay sa upat ka probinsya sa Central Visayas ang nangaguba tungod sa bagyo sigon sa top sa DSW7. I-target usab sa DSWD7 nga makapadala og 50,000 ka mga relief packs matag adlaw ngadto sa mga biktima sa bagyo sa Eastern Visayas. Sa pagkakaron Hillary padayon paghihapon ang Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council sa ilang clearing operations sa mga gagmayng dalan sa amihanang Subo nga naapektuhan sa bagyo. Hillary.
Daghang salamat Twini Malina reporting gikan Cebu City. Gisugyot ni Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte nga ibutang ubos sa state of emergency ang syudad sa Tacloban human siya mibisita sa lugar ni adtong Lunes. Ani ang report ni Ben Tesorna. Ben?
Nasagwayo si Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte dihang mibisita siya sa mga apektadong lugar sa Leyte ni atong Lunes aron ihatag ang donation sa Davao City government. Matod ni Duterte, daw gibiyaan sa Ginoo ang Kabisayan ni atong miigo ang bagyong Yolanda sa lugar ni atong Biyernes.
I think God was somewhere else when the typhoon hit. Puro patay na sa dalan, hantod karon.
Dugang ni Duterte gawas sa nagkatag ang mga patayng lawas sa dalan, ang mga taong nabuhi walay makaon, wala say kuryente ug tubig. Busa gisugit ni Duterte nga ibutang ubos sa state of emergency at Tacloban City tungod kay naglisod ang local government sa pagatiman sa mga residenteng nanginahanglan og tabang.
A state of calamity is not enough. There has to be a state of emergency because there is no local government functioning. Yung inaasahan nila na police, army, pati mga social workers, taga-gobyerno, lahat sila biktima, lahat sila may patay.
Sigon ni Duterte, dako ang iyang kasubo sa nahitabo sa lugar, ilabi na sa syudad sa Maasin sa Leyte, tungod kay dito siya natawo. Gidala ni Duterte na atong Lunes ng 8 million pesos nga financial assistance sa dakbayan sa Davao ngadto sa mga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda. Tag 3 million pesos ang gihatag ngadto sa Southern Leyte ug probinsya sa Leyte ug 2 million pesos ngadto sa Tacloban City. Gawa sa financial assistance, may padala sa rescue personnel o equipment ang dakbayan sa Davao aron moabag sa search and rescue operations sa mga lugar nga apektado sa bagyo. Gilangkuban sa 49 katawo ang rescue team gikan sa Central 911, City Health Office ug City Social Services and Development Office. May padala sa 230 ka pulis ug sundalo ngadto sa Leyte, usa ka gatos gikan sa 4th Infantry Division sa Philippine Army, samtang 130 ka pulis gikan sa Police Regional Office 11 aron mutabang sa paghusay sa lugar. Giahog sab ni Davao City Vice Mayor Paulo Duterte ang mga Davaoenyo sa paghatag og hinabang ngadto sa kabisayan sa ilang gagmayng paagi. Dagon ang gikinahanglan sa mga apektado mao ang pagkaon, tubig, medisina, sinina ug ubang batakang paginahanglan.
Ang ato mohangyo ko as your Vice Mayor na kung unsa inyong mahatag, matabang, pangita mong paagi nga makapadala mo dito tabang sa ato mga kaigsuunan sa Visayas, no? Labi na gid sa Tacloban, sa Leyte. Luoy kay sila. Kinasing-kasing lang nga hatag.
Ben Tishorna, Solar News.
Mopadala ang Department of Agriculture og dugang rice seedlings ngadto sa mga apektadong lugar sa bagyong Yolanda aron mabawi ang ilang panginahanglan sa bugas humay. Si Cheng Ordonez adunay detalye. Cheng?
Hillary, dalon sa barko sa Department of Agriculture ug sa Bureau of Fishery and Aquatic Resources nga MVDA-BFAR ang mga relief goods ug intervention agricultural products ngadto sa Tacloban City nunot sa bagyong Yolanda. Ibana-bana ni Agriculture Secretary Proceso Alcala ato sa opening sa 2013 Mindanao-wide Makina Saka Agri-Machinery Road Show dinhi sa Cagayan de Oro City nga mikabat sa 3.7 billion pesos sa agricultural products ang nadaot sa kabisayan tungod sa bagyong Yolanda. Busa muhatag og rice seedlings ang DA aron mabawi ang panginahanglan sa bugas humay sa kabisayan human sa bagyong Yolanda. Dugang ni Alcala, mopahulam sab ang Philippine Coconut Authority og 100 power saw aron motabang sa clearing operation sa mga dalan nga natumbahan og punuan. Dayon gamiton kini mga punuan alang sa housing program alang sa mga apektado sa bagyo. Gisiguro ni Alcala nga hugot ang seguridad sa barko kung nadawat ang mga taho nga pagpangawat o pagpangambus sa mga sakyanan dunay dala nga relief goods ngadto sa Tacloban. Doon na escort nga upat ka speedboat ang barko nga mudunggo usa ka nautical mile gikan sa pantalan sa Tacloban. Ipaabot nga moabot ang barko karong hapon dinhi sa Cagayan de Oro nga mudawat sab og relief goods gikan sa nagkalaing-laing sektor aron i-deliver ngadto sa Tacloban. Hillary.
Daghang salamat Cheng Ordonez reporting gikan Cagayan de Oro City. Ipadala na sa kagamhanan sa Zamboanga del Sur ug Pagadian City ang mga donasyon nga natigom atol sa Oplan Tabang Visayas alang sa mga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda sa Kabisayan. Si Jong Cadion dunay detalye. Jong?
Yes, Hillary, giandam na sa 1st Infantry Tabak Division sa Philippine Army ang pagpadala sa mga relief goods na natigom atol sa Oplan Tabang Visayas nga ilang gipasugdahan kauban ang Philippine Information Agency alang sa mga apektado sa bagyong Yolanda sa Kabisayan. Mapasalamaton ang duha ka ahensya sa libihang hinabang gikan sa mga katawhan sa Zamboanga Peninsula, Misamis Occidental o Lanao del Norte and Lanao del Sur. Gilusad ang Oplan Tabang Visayas sa lokal nga kagamhanan sa Zamboanga del Sur o Pagadian City kanatong Domingo pinagi sa usa ka concert. Dalon unta ang mga dalon sa adlaw ang mga relief goods apan tungod sa pag-igo sa bagyong Sulaida sa Mindanao, giposto nila ang pagpadala. Ikatakda ugma ipadala ang hinabang ngadto sa mga apektado sa bagyo. Bukas gihapon alang sa mga donasyon ang PIA Regional Office nga naa sa PL Oro Street sa Pagadian City o dili bagha sa Gaetano Mall sa Pagadian City hangtod sa alas 5 sa hapon ugma. Hillary?
Daghang salamat Jong Cadion reporting gikan Pagadian City. Kung buot ninyo matanaw pag-usab ang episode karon sa Solar News Cebuano, i-like ang among Facebook page Solar News Cebuano. Bisitahi sab ang among website www.solarnews.ph. Alang sa inyong mga sugyot o komentaryo, mahimo sab ninyo kining email sa solarnewscebuano@solartv.ph. Ug mao kadto ang Solar News Cebuano hangtod ugma puhon sa ngalan ni Menchu Makapagal. Ako si Hillary Isaac. Daghang salamat og pag-amping Kabisayan ug Mindanao.